Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care. Now, here's your host, founder, caregiver, and CEO, Suzanne Newman.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And I'm here with Kitty Norton, the creator, producer, brainchild, former caregiver of her mom, and my friend of Wine, Women, and Dementia. An amazing movie. And if your family has been touched by dementia or Alzheimer's or just caregiving in general, it doesn't even need to be dementia, because I will tell you there's so many parallels with Parkinson's or, heart disease or anything like that goes on, that you're still living that journey. And I think that's the powerful part of your movie, is it touches so many of us that are dealing with, an aging loved one. And I am so honored to have you back on the show, Kitty. And with your new premiere on PBS, tell us a little bit of how people can find the movie.
Absolutely. So on November 2nd, it will be available online on the PBS app, which you can download and watch on a variety of your favorite devices, or it will be available on PBS Online. And right now you could actually go and search for the film and put it on your watch list. It's also ending up in a lot of PBS markets, because these kinds of distribution deals aren't like the front lines, or it's not going to air at the same day on the time for everywhere. So we've gotten, like New York and San Francisco and LA and a lot of those top markets are going to be airing the film both in November, but they also have the opportunity to air the film for the next 3 years. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So even markets that will have it this November could again play it next March for Caregiver Day, National Caregiver Day, or it could show up again next November. It's very, very exciting, because it took my small reach for the film, me and my team doing community screenings, festivals, all this stuff. We've probably reached about 3,500 people. And this is going to go to about 1.5 to 3 million caregivers being able to see this, households being able to see this. And that's huge. And I just want this message of, caregivers, you are as important to this journey as the person living with dementia. And they need their voice, but we need our voices heard too. And we need to be celebrated. We need to have some understanding for what we're going through, how we're keeping these households together, how we're advocating for our person, how we're loving our person, fighting with our person, just how we're
all of the above.
How we're having successes and failures.
And that person, if they're a parent, it seems to me like even in advanced dementia, they still know what it takes to push our buttons. They still know there's that dynamic that is the mother and daughter, or mother and son, or father and son, that somehow never disconnects, or not for a long time. And I know that I always say to people, your greatest challenge and thing that you need to hang on to is the fact that dynamic will never change for your loved one. And yes, if they are advanced, it's different, but the whole point is that sometimes the hard stuff is just hard when you're trying to be that daughter or be that that caregiver. So you took off after your mother passed away. You bought an RV. And what happened?
1997 RV.
You're amazing.
Yeah, well, that's what I can afford. Plastered mom's face all over it, got a logo done. One of my friends did a logo. I put that on it, and we took off around the country. We did Seattle first. My friend Allison Schreier.
Which our listeners know, by the way. We all know Allison, yeah.
Yeah, I had hired a camera guy and a sound guy, and I thought, let's go up before we do this big road trip around the country. Let's go talk to Allison first, come home, look at that footage, and make sure I want to go forward with this because sound guys aren't cheap. And I came back and watched the footage. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wish somebody would have talked about, things that I would have known starting this journey. This is the conversation I wish I would have heard. So the next month we did the whole full 7,500 miles around the country, and we went to
That is
Chicago,
amazing.
Amherst, New Hampshire, Trapp, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, Dallas, and then dropped my friend Beth, who was my travel companion, off in LA, and I came back up the coast.
That is amazing. That
It
is
was
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And what I seem to remember about the interviews is, like you said, some they had already passed, like Allison's husband had already passed. Tragically from early onset, which when you think about that, that's just a whole other phenomena. But, the thing that was amazing is that we got to meet in your film their loved ones. We got to see them, in their daily life, that they're sitting there with you, but there's interruptions and there's things that are going on while you're filming and while you're doing these things, because that's real life, right? And I love that you brought joy to their lives through that process. And it's bringing the realness and the authenticity in, I think, of someone that cares for a loved one, and just that whole commitment factor that I think a lot of the world totally doesn't quite connect with. They don't understand the duty piece. They don't understand that commitment. And also, you brought lightness, you brought that joy, which sometimes is rare.
I think so. And this was my brainchild. This was my idea, but I also had 6 articulate, funny, honest, raw caregivers I went to visit, and
You're
they
amazing.
didn't hold back either. I had the questions on the paper. I had the camera guy and the sound guy doing their thing, but these women and men just opened up. There was none of us held back.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Wow. When we really think about that piece alone, I think a lot of us tend to want to cover that up. People say, "How are you doing?" "I'm fine." We have a tendency to be protective. We put that wall up, that I have to have, the fortitude on my shoulders. I remember standing in my kitchen one day when I was caring for my mom, and I felt metaphorically everything was on my shoulders, and I felt the weight of it. It was just this momentary feeling that I had during that time. And it was like it was like I was almost outside of my body saying, slough it off or brush it off. It's, just keep taking steps, keep going through it. And I think that that's what a lot of us do. We tend to just, go into autopilot, and we suppress, all of the stress and all of the things that we're dealing with, until if we don't take care of ourselves, that can be a burnout. That can be bad.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Here comes my meltdown.
Yeah.
Away.
Yeah. So Kitty, again, Wine, Women, and Dementia is coming this weekend. It premieres Saturday, November 2nd, which is today, for where we are broadcasting in most of our markets. So please go to PBS online and you can find it, or you can go right to our website on Answers for Elders. There's a big banner and you can go right there and watch it. And Kitty and I will be right back right after this. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.